What's up guys, Luke here, and today I'm back with another video, and this time I'm playing Car Mechanic Simulator 2014, which, like most games of this sort of name, is not shit. It does exactly what it says on the tin. So, what you do is you get given a repair order, and on these early missions you have to, it says exactly what you need to do. On later missions you need to diagnose things. So, this one we have to replace all the filters, so that's what I'm doing. So it's pretty straightforward. You just click on the things you want to remove and then unscrew them, and then you just need to work out what goes where. You progress through the game and you get to a much nicer garage and much more complicated things, but it ostensibly stays about the same. There's a couple of free pieces of DLC. There's the recently released quarter mile add-on, which I've never actually worked, which I tried earlier and I couldn't work out what I was actually really needing to do, which is never helpful. Okay, so when you need to get your stuff, you come to this shop and you just go and buy it. There's also a four-wheel drive add-on, which really doesn't do that much, but it's free DLC, so you can't really complain. So, this particular task is pretty easy. Just change all the filters. So then walk back to the base of the car. And then try and find where I'm supposed to put the filter. There it is. And there we go. Filter installed. Now we need to lower the car so I can get into the engine bay and replace the oil and fuel filters, and not the oil and air filters even, and the parts of the air components, air filter system that I removed. It's not a particularly challenging game apart from some of the more interesting later on missions where you have a lot of things to change. And you have to do a lot more diagnosis and such. Right, okay. And there we go. Now I believe that is the entire car sorted. It is indeed. And we sell all these crappy old parts. And then I think we can stamp that as done. Cars are not really based off anything in real life. They're just fairly generic things. There aren't that many of them, which is always disappointing as well. It could have done with more. So this third mission requires me to make a test drive. So I go to the door, and then I drive to the test track. Now, the car physics in this game are not great, and the reflections in the mirrors are ridiculous. Graphically, it's not bad. It's not anything special, but it's not terrible. It doesn't matter if I run over all the cones or anything like that, because you can't do any damage to the vehicle. The car physics are all... The cars do feel slightly different, but you're doing the same task all of the time, so this is actually pretty monotonous and not really that interesting. And the driving model is really quite poor. The cars are way too oversensitive. I mean, something like this van should be fairly wobbly and slow, and yet I can do this, which I really shouldn't be able to do. This is a suspension test. In fact, this is actually more sensitive than I remember it being. The point of doing this is that I then am able to see the condition of the various parts of the car. So it will give me conditions on the suspension, the wheels, I think the brakes. If I go and do this, there we go. So what's he want me to do? Replace all worn out parts. Well, it can't be much because it's not paid me very much. So if we just go in here and we have a look, there we go. We have some suspension linkage that needs some love. So I think we're going to actually have to take the wheel off here. So let's do this. Obviously the part condition is indicated by the colour, and you can also look on this bit when you actually click on one or hover over it. So we need new outer tie rod. We need a sway bar end link left. Now what can I see on the other side of the car? It looks like we need a sway bar on that side as well. So both sway bar end links and an outer tie rod. suspension components are fairly common to replace, as are brakes. You do end up replacing most of the same components. The really annoying bits are when you forget to check the clutch, and that's where the issue actually lies, because you've got to take the gearbox and pretty much everything out of the car to get there. So, we need an outer tie rod, like that one there, and where is it? Two of these, one each of those. Okay, and then different cars with different components. So some cars have V6 engines, some cars have rear-wheel drive transmissions, some don't. Things like that. Okay, so we just screw this in. It's very much reminiscent of the bits of Street Rod that I used to like playing. And for those of you who don't know, that's a really old DOS game where you buy and fix up crappy old muscle cars and make them into much nicer muscle cars. Try and do drag races and aqueduct races and things. It's pretty primitive stuff. There was a Street Rod 3 project and never really got off the ground. Anyway, there we go. I'd say that's all done and dusted. Have I missed anything? No. So, let's just sell... Oops. Yeah, I have to get out of there to get to the inventory. Let's sell those ruined old parts. Now, one other thing you can do, when I can remember where the computer is, there it is we can go here. You can also buy used car parts, but it's generally not a good idea to do so. And the reason is that the cars tend to be a lot lower, the parts tend to be not good enough quality quite often. Sometimes you can buy them and they're in the red. And if the parts are rebuildable, then you can just rebuild the parts you've already got. The only time it's a good idea is if there's parts missing. It's something like these suspension arms that you can rebuild. Otherwise, there's not really much point doing it. So, these are the things I can do. I think it's a good idea to invest in business management, because money's always nice. And let's not press escape, let's right click instead. I'll skip on to the next order. I certainly wouldn't advocate paying a huge amount of money for it, but for the couple of quid I paid for it, it's definitely worth doing it. This is very, very easy money, because all I have to do is get in the car. And we're still essentially doing the tutorial levels, so there's not much money involved, but they're also really easy to do. So this is the OBD reader. You just get into the car and click down by the steering wheel, and there we go. An incredibly easy $300 has just been made. Just like that. Well, 300 and a bit more because of the 5% extra bonus I got. Okay, so this time I need to repair the starter. So yeah, I get an extra $5 there. So this car is obviously a grubby mess. You will see the difference in condition depending on how looked after the cars have been. So the starter motor is located, where is it located? Oh yes, of course, it's around the back, isn't it? Over here. Thing is, it's only the internals, the mechanical components of the car that look like that. The internals are always, the external bits of the car look fine, which is always a bit odd. So here's the repair bench, and there we go. Starter motor has been repaired. Now you don't make much money on this particular mission at all. Well, I made $11, which is a pathetic margin. But nevertheless, starter motor has been repaired, and the car is now in better shape. Now we can go back to the computer, and we can go to the learning books. And I'm going to go for the Master of Commerce, because having a discount is always nice as well. But it's all about making money in this game, just like almost any other business type game or simulator or anything really. Okay, so now we need to do a test drive, which means we're going to have an issue with the clutch in this one. Or the gearbox, probably the clutch. Yep. Now I don't know if they've actually fixed it. I think they have now actually fixed this. They seem to have definitely updated this a bit. So I think they've now fixed it so that the cars actually behave more like their supposed issues. So it does seem like this is quite slow to shift gear. So that's quite a big step in the right direction, if that is the case. And brake. But maybe not, it just seems to be slow at first, but it seems to have sped up quite a lot there, so I don't know what's going on. So, definitely wants me to look at the clutch, so let's turn on that. Now we have to take out pretty much most of the car to actually get at the clutch, as far as I can remember. Because this drive shaft needs to come off, so which means the wheels have to come off. So, may as well open the bonnets. So the wheels all have to come off, then the starter has to come off, then the gearbox has to come off. Obviously the drive shaft will be off by that point as well. This is why it's annoying when you get... And then there's 3 parts of the clutch as well, so it's really annoying when you forget to check the clutch, and it turns out the clutch is indeed the issue. So there goes the starter. There's lots of bolts in the gearbox. Okay, there we go. So there we go. As you can see, we have the clutch pressure plate is fine, but the clutch release bearing is ruined. Not quite sure how the pressure plate is fine, but the rest of it is knackered. But there we go. So there we go. So we need a new friction plate and a release bearing on the clutch, and those parts cannot be rebuilt. So we need that, and we need that. And then switch to assemble mode, and some jiggery pokery. Attach that, attach that. And that can be really annoying how it shifts the camera around sometimes, and that is one example of it. Okay, so let's put the gearbox back in. Like so. And then we can now put the rest of the car back together. So there goes the starter motor. We'll come around to the front and we put in drive axle left. And now we can put the wheel back on the car. Like this. And then we can go to the other side of the car and do exactly the same. One goes a slightly more damaged drive axle. Okay, so there we go. So I think that concludes this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. I do intend to do videos more regularly than I'm doing at the moment, but I can't guarantee what will happen because I'm quite busy. But yeah, I hope to see you back here in the very near future, folks. Have a good day, and see you soon.